Welcome to Make a Path Presents. I'm Ronnie Hayes, and today we got another Walking Dead Q&A, number 88. Now, this is the TV show only, and if you're new here, you can find the rules down in that video description. Most important rule, put Q&A first thing in your comment. And also, if you asked a question in the last video in the comment section and we're not answering it in this video, ask it again if it's a good question. I got over 700 questions, so there's no way I can get even close to that many, not even a quarter in a video without making it too long. And another thing real quick, if you're hearing about this hashtag Fear the Fair Use, which is AMC wrongfully going after YouTube channels for copyright claims, staying away from some channels that they know are big enough and they could fight it, or channels that they agree with or are connected to. I'm not going to name any names. And then attacking certain ones. They're picking and choosing who they can steal from because it's easy money. As of right now, I haven't seen anything else that is letting me know this is an honest mistake. They're literally targeting YouTubers for revenue, and it's completely wrongful. I've had consultations with a couple lawyers right now, and I'm looking for one I can get representation from that isn't going to cost me an arm and a leg. And realistically, it's hard as hell on YouTube. When I ask around, it's like, it's not serious enough. You know what I mean? So it's really hard right now. Go ahead and check out what that's about if you want to be in the know. Other than that, let's get right to the questions. Jack Gutman wants to know if I have a different death prediction now that we've seen the trailer. I'm a little burnt out with the death prediction. Not only that, the other day I was thinking about a certain death, and it was one of the people who are being talked about that might be getting killed as far as spoiler stuff. I won't say it here in case somebody hasn't heard it yet, but if that's the case, then it could be looked at as me just picking someone because I know that they are more likely to die because of the leak. So I don't know. I'm burnt out of it. It's sucked all the fun out of it. But right now I am curious to see, more curious, if the leak is true or not, because again, that's such a big deal. Moving on. Mark asks, can they have Father Gabriel relevant in the show, unlike the comic? I think Gabriel is one of those characters where I understand what you're saying, but I slightly disagree. I think it's unrealistic to have every character have a huge major role. Gabriel, nicely weaves in and out of the story where his story is prominent in certain places, and it could be very brief. It could only be for a few pages. Right now, it looks like he's being utilized more in a comic, and I'm excited for that. But in the show, they have a very good actor, so I'm really, 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 really hoping he gets a lot more development than he did in the comic. Glassify HD. Will we see girls sitting around with hardly any clothes on at the sanctuary on the TV show like we did in the comics? I hope so. Yeah, most likely. Nick Martini. Do you think that the show will make it to the current Whisper of War story arc? Yes, and if you're anyone out there who asked a Whisper or a Whisper War question for the TV show, I'm going to ask you to move those questions over to the comic Q&A. That is very relevant in the comic discussion, in the comic universe discussion. It's not relevant at all in the TV show. I know it connects to the show. It has no place in the show discussion right now. Certain ones like that. Like, there was a good question that talked about the costume design. I would love to talk about that more, but I'm keeping it for the comic Q&A because it fits perfect, you know what I mean? And I know it's about the show, but it's about the comic, But trust me, if you ask that over in the comic, I definitely want to talk about it. The Amazing Spider Troll. Hey man, do you think in the comic they would make someone worse than I don't know how you mean worse. Thanks for the compliment, but I just don't know what you mean worse. Worse as in bad as in evil, worse as in a bad, objectively bad character or bad writing. I don't know what you mean worse. Alpha, I think, is worse on an evil level. Absolutely. I screwed that all up. Luke Brumfield. Do you think they can make Negan seen as brutal as in the comics? I think there's more potential, I'm just worried they're not going to be able to because of the restrictions on TV. However, when you're watching real life people with the blood, and Greg Nicotero is directing that episode, just imagine what they can do as far as the barbed wire with meeting skin, and in the comic it was so gory it dislocated his jaw. I mean, his eye was popping out, his brains are spilling out. It was brutal, so it's going to be hard to top that. On the show, like I said though, on TV you can see the flesh being torn and blood spraying out just from the barbed wire hitting them. But they need to be clever how they do it, but not too gory to where they can't show it. But maybe they could save it for the Blu-ray. That would be cool. Aeroplane Blues. Scott Gimple said that the Lucille beating will have gore, but the sound might be the worst part. Any thoughts? I kind of agree with him. The sound is very brutal. When you see something on TV in a gory scene, and then you mute it and then watch it with sound, when you get that squishy or, someone choking on their own blood, sound adds a lot. So I definitely see where he's coming from. But I'm hoping it's not all sound, because that would not be anywhere near as brutal, even though sound is brutal. It wouldn't be anywhere near as brutal as getting visuals as well. Ranch King, will killing 2 in the premiere be overkill? Yeah, listen, I've said this since the first time anyone has ever talked about 2 people being killed, which was even before the supposed leak. I just feel like that's a comedy scene where you see people in a room and they're like, okay, how do we top, the comic where we kill one person, and then the person who usually comes up with the worst ideas just raises their hand and they're like, kill 2, It's the easiest, I don't know, I hate it, and I'm really hoping it's not true, because again, it's the easiest way to say, okay, how do we top this? We do double, Speaking about that also, though, we have to look at, if that is true, it means they straight up lied about killing 11 or filming 11 deaths, which in my opinion, I do believe they have the potential to do that, but not as, detailed as if it was one. Like, when you have one death, you have all this shit that's happening. I feel like if they did, in fact, film 11 deaths, all it was Negan in front of that character, going like this with his bat. Okay, film it. Okay, cut. Okay, action, cut. And that was it. I think that is as much as they filmed, in my opinion, off the top of my head. I can't see them doing the entire beating with all the gore, all the effects. It feels like that would take forever. But if they have 2 deaths, it means the 11 deaths is an absolute lie. There's just no way. Think about it, because you would have the reason for filming the 11 deaths would be thrown out the window, because you would have one person already killed, and then Negan would be coming over to kill the second person. But that's clearly visual. You see how that's so screwed up? Anyway, moving on. Oh, Ranch King also asked about the season 6 premiere. I got the tickets in a lottery, like a enter here thing, and you asked if we're going to get one for season 7. No, there's no way they're going to premiere the premiere early like they did for season 6, because then the spoiler will be out there. I mean, people aren't going to shut their mouths. With the season 6 premiere, they were clever enough to have a first episode where there's not really any spoilers there. There's some juicy tidbits, but there's no spoilers, really. Davian Flake. Do you think they could be faking us out with the Glenn and Abe predictions? I think there's like a 20% chance of us being faked out. Amy Beer. Ronnie, the more I watch season 7 trailer, the more I feel like the walker is Glenn. And you're talking about the one in the fog. I've heard a few people say that, and I just do not see the connection. I look at the face clearly, and I'm not seeing it. Tom Moore. Do you think we will see the Dwight flashback to see his face get burnt, a new person getting burnt, or will it remain a mystery to TV fans? No, I firmly believe it will be a new person. I don't think a flashback is as powerful as a new person, because if Daryl's there, all right, Daryl hates Dwight's guts. Did I say that right? Daryl hates Dwight's guts. If Daryl is there, grilling Dwight, I hate this son of a bitch, I'm going to slit his throat in his sleep, and he's staring at his burnt face, and then we see some guy get drug out, sat down in a chair, Negan comes out, gives this speech, shows how he has this whole place on lockdown. Everyone is terrified to step out of line, and then Negan gets an iron and brutally burns this guy's face. Daryl can now, and that's why I say it's more impactful than just a simple flashback, because a flashback shows the audience, but it doesn't add anything new to the story, except for just revealing it to the audience. But having a person killed right then and there, it reveals it to the audience through this other person getting burnt, but it also has that bonus of showing Daryl, who's now standing there looking over at Dwight thinking, a second ago I wanted to slit his throat, but now I'm starting to see that this poor son of a bitch was trying to run away, and he got caught, and he got brought back. He had the one thing in his life that he has left in this apocalypse world taken away from him, and Negan's banging that one thing every night. You could probably hear her screams even, you know what I mean? He's blowing that back out, and Dwight gets a burnt face. You know what I mean? And that's it. So yeah, Dwight was sent on the road. You either, do what you need to do, or I'm killing your wife, or whatever kind of empty threat Negan has. Anyway, because we know, guys, Negan doesn't kill women, That's one of his rules. And that is sarcasm. Negan definitely kills women. Moving on. Queen Carol. Why are people rushing what comes after and March Out War? Like those 2 volumes are so jam-packed with the Kingdom, Carl, Maggie. I'm thinking the most we will see of All Out War this season is episode 15 and 16, barely just to get hype for the war in season 8. Your thoughts? You know what? I'm a little conflicted here because I do believe they need to utilize season 7, introducing all these new people and building up towards All Out War. I think with all the new communities, with the budget and everything, I just think it makes more sense to show us all this new stuff, open this world up, craft the story towards a war, and leave it kind of maybe the war is right about to kick off. That way next season they can advertise the whole season. In my head it just makes sense, but they've never really been that big on doing that. Like in season 6, they would have fired me. They would have fired me immediately because I never would have stopped being like, start season 6 promotion with No Way Out. Have posters at Comic-Con. Have all this crazy, do a diorama where fans can walk into houses and they're trapped in the house with walkers on the window. Sell No Way Out because you know what? It's coming. You can hint to it without spoiling a lot of major shit. Because what did they do anyway? In the trailer, they show a clip of Alexandria surrounded by walkers. There's no surprise. Fans knew it was coming. In the trailer, you showed it. So just like that with All Out War, I think we should build the story and utilize Comic-Con, utilize the break as setting up and promoting All Out War. I don't know. I think it fits too perfect. Where I do have my problems and where I am skeptical, I don't think season 8, even though I think they can pull off All Out War in one season. 16 episodes, yeah, you heard me say it. And I know a lot of people are thinking, but wait a minute, it's only wars and wars and wars. With a show, you have different things. In the comic, some things move so fast. In the comic, I had to read the one part 3 different times because I'm like, wait a minute, what the fuck is going on? Because Kirkman skips right from an attack right onto an attack on outposts. And in my opinion, reading it right through the first time, it just didn't make any sense. I had to go back 2 or 3 times and be like, okay, I get it. He traps and then he attacks before his other people can catch wind of what's going on. So it's perfect and I understand it. But when you look at it, separating it into a show, yeah, you could get 10 episodes of a war because not all of it is just solid action. There's plotting, there's strategies. You're going here, then moving all the way over here and attacking here. You have people all the way over here, and I'm trying to be general and spoiler-free, but the people over here have to regroup and come over here. There's an attack, there's a setup. Then you got communities that are transferring survivors and other crap. And man, I just stayed so general, that probably doesn't make any sense. And not only that, the war aspect, there's also so much story. So I I think it would be really difficult for them to put All Out War into one season, but I would love to see that. I would love to see Season 7 introduce us to this larger world, build alliances, watch Rick and other characters, especially Jesus. I'm very excited for his character and what they're going to do. I'm hoping it's similar to the comic, but I'm excited how they build those characters and lead towards a war. And in Season 8, I just think it, promoting All Out War with Season 8. And then after that, Season 9, where you would think that fans are starting to get a little burnt out, you could take a breather. You can come back with an entirely new area. I mean, it would be after the time skip, again, to stay spoiler free for people who don't read the comics. There's a big time skip. The area is totally different. You can come back with a whole different vibe. I just think it's too perfect. 8 All Out War, 9 with the Whispers and New Beginning. I don't know. I love it. I think I'm going to try to double up my Q&As this week for the TV show. And if I can, I'll try the comic as well. But we're going to stop here. And then tomorrow I have another TV show Q&A. So look for that one. I'm also using the questions from last week's video. So it's not going to be questions from this video. This video, I'll do a Q&A for the TV show in a few days. That will be the questions from this video. So I hope that doesn't confuse you. But I'm going to stop here. Tomorrow, look for a fresh Q&A for the Walking Dead TV show. Put your thoughts, opinions, and new questions down in their comment box. I'm done talking. It's your turn.
Subscribe now.